Hello, this is Dylan on Daily Dose of Dylan, Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. This is Dylan on Daily Dose of Dylan. Alright, back for probably just today, and then school is ending soon, so I should be on here more frequently. I'll do my best. But, alright, got some good stuff to cover today. And as always, I'm gonna be on this podcast as much as I can whenever I get the chance. Luckily, I've had a few days where I can kind of write down some stuff to talk about. But yeah, school is out soon, so hopefully I can get more in during the summer. Alright, so let's start off with this. Miami tied up the series 1-1 after yesterday's game. And Steve Kerr had some thoughts on it. He said Miami's game plan shifted from shutting down Jokic to shutting down Jamal Murray. And honestly, there is a common misconception that, your best player should just dominate offensively. Just dominate the offense. But honestly, a lot of the Denver's 0-3 in the playoffs when Jokic scores 40+. They're 0-3. Think about the Celtics a few years back when Isaiah Thomas was dropping like 50 and, these 40, 50-point games. The Celtics were losing. Michael Jordan dropped 63 and lost. In Magic Johnson's 3 highest scoring playoff games, the Lakers lost. And the Lakers hardly lost in the Magic Johnson era. But what I think Eric Spoelstra is understanding is that Jokic is going to dominate. The star player is going to dominate more often than not. There are rare times where the player has an off night or something. The shots aren't falling for them. But that's very rare, especially with a player like Jokic. So you just have to shut down. You can't win. You can't win in the playoffs with one player. So I think they understood if they take out Jamal Murray, Jokic can't do everything. It's Jamal Murray that really. It sounds weird, but he's what makes the team great. If it was just Jokic, the team wouldn't be. They'd be good because Jokic is a great player, but they wouldn't be a championship team. So taking Jamal Murray out of the offense makes them very reliant on Jokic to the point where they're no longer as effective offensively. So people think it's good basketball when you just watch one guy drop 50, and it is exciting to watch a 50-point game, but it's actually rare that players win when they do that. And think about it. LeBron, game 1 of the 2018 NBA Finals, 51-8-8, he lost. That's because the Cavs had no one else to worry about. The Warriors just had to shut down everyone around LeBron. Because that year, in that playoff run, LeBron was going to dominate every game no matter what. There was nothing stopping him in that playoff run. But if you shut down everyone around him, because if you look at the Raptors series, where LeBron swept, not LeBron, but the Cavs swept the Raptors, the supporting cast was performing much better. even though LeBron was obviously the focal point and the main reason they won, in that series, that was the best help he was getting throughout the whole playoffs. If you compare what the supporting cast was doing that series versus the finals, it's much different. All right. So, Bills GM Brandon Beane said that the potential, the chances of them signing DeAndre Hopkins, it's not really, I don't know. I worded that wrong, sorry. But, it's not really off the table. The idea of Hopkins to Buffalo. And maybe 2 weeks ago, I would have said this is a good move, but they've already signed 3 D linemen in a week and a half, so, it would have been nice, but honestly, I don't know if the Bills really need DeAndre Hopkins. I think he'd be valuable. There's value to him going there, but, because, it's like I said before, Stephon Diggs can't be the only receiver. He can't be the only guy Josh Allen can throw to, There has to be people like Gabe Davis, and if he goes there, DeAndre Hopkins, So on days when when teams make the mistake of trying to shut down Diggs, he has other options. So Hopkins, if I were Hopkins, I would go to a contending team for less money, like the Chiefs or the Bills, Or he can come to the Packers, help us out a bit, But, no, that's... If I were him, I would go to the Chiefs or Bills, a contending team. Because I think he's looking to win a Super Bowl. I think that's what he's kind of getting to that point, Julio Jones kind of did this. He went to the Bucks, although they weren't really in contention for a Super Bowl, but for less money, And Hopkins is kind of getting up there in age, so I think the best move for him at this point in his career is to go to a contending team for less money. All right, so Jerry Jones said that the Prescott extension isn't necessarily tied to other deals that the team made. It's just the Cowboys, I don't think they really manage their salary cap very well. There's a lot of players, especially Zeke Elliott, and, Prescott's the 9th highest paid quarterback, but I don't think he's really a top 10 quarterback. I don't think he's top 10. I don't know if that's disrespectful to say, but, when you're the 9th highest paid, you should be the 9th best, or at least close, But, I'll give Dak Prescott the benefit of the doubt. He is close to the 9th best quarterback. I'd say he's in the 10 to 15 range. But, a lot of... if you look at the top 10 highest paid, it doesn't really correlate with the top 10 best, in my opinion. Lamar's number 1. I don't think he's not the best quarterback in the league. Jalen Hurts is probably not the second best, Rodgers, I'd say, is about where he should be. Maybe last year I would have said Wilson deserves to be in the top 5, but I wouldn't. After what he did last year, and after how he played. I think he's just kind of reached that point in his career where he's kind of up there in age, kind of declining. I'd say the only outlier on this list is Daniel Jones at $40 million. But that's all, and also Deshaun Watson at $46 million. That's the leverage I think Lamar used. if Deshaun Watson's someone who really did not show any signs of being a good player at all last year. I mean, he showed some signs, I just didn't say it like that, but he appeared significantly less productive as he was in years past. So I think Dak's leverage right now in extension talks is, hey, Matt Stafford's declining and he's making $40 million. I'm a more productive quarterback than Daniel Jones and he's making $40 million. And I'm much more available than Deshaun Watson. And he's making $46 million. You know, so I think, and I said this when Prescott was when they were thinking about paying Prescott before. You know, Dak has a lot of leverage on them. That's the biggest problem. If I were them, I would get rid of Elliott's salary because I think he's overpaid. And I don't think he's the best running back on the team even. I think Tony Pollard is better. So that would be my solution, but I don't know on the team. So, alright. So Trevor Lawrence spoke about how he is excited to just use this offseason to work on the little things about his game, mechanics and such. You know, and like not having to get used to a new offense. And honestly, Lawrence is he showed great promise last year. And I think he's going to be a great quarterback. But I would also like to acknowledge how great of a job Doug Peterson has done in completely flipping around the organization and putting them on the right path. And he did that very quickly. And not only did he do that, he beat Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl. I think Doug Peterson has been very underappreciated in his time as a coach. You know, I think he's been spectacular. And I think this past year showed how truly... And also, he beat Bill Belichick with Nick Foles as his quarterback. He didn't have Carson Wentz when he was in his MVP season. He had Nick Foles, who was a backup quarterback, and Nick Foles got the credit. Guys, Nick Foles played 4 games that year? Yeah, they were playoff games, but it was Doug Peterson who... I mean, when Carson Wentz was almost certainly going to be the MVP that year, before his injury. They lost him late in the year. They went from the MVP to Nick Foles, and they stayed on track and won a Super Bowl. I don't know if that's because Nick Foles is great. I think it's because Doug Peterson is a great coach. You know, and Brian Dable did a great job last year, but I think Doug Peterson deserved it over him. You know, I think Peterson deserved it over Dable. I think he deserved it over Sirianni, as great as Sirianni did. Honestly, my 2 top candidates would have been Shanahan and Peterson. Because Shanahan went through 3 different quarterbacks throughout the year. He made the last overall pick Mr. Irrelevant. He got him to the playoffs. You know, and again, Sirianni and Dable did great, but I don't know if that's... I don't think either of them are more impressive than Peterson and Shanahan. Alright, so the Bills signed Leonard Floyd. It's a good signing. Nothing exciting. I just think they're looking at the wrong thing right now. Like, I think they believe that the defense is what they have to focus on, but it's not. Their defense is top tier in the league. What they have to focus on is the O-line. If you look at, honestly, they just have to look at the, just look at the divisional round of the playoffs last year. Josh Allen was constantly under pressure. It wasn't your defense underperforming. It was the fact that Josh Allen was incredibly overwhelmed. So, I mean, I don't know. I think they're spending their money incorrectly, and it's kind of disappointing because they are a Super Bowl contender. You know, and they have been for the last few years. They were my pick last year to win it all, I think. It was them versus the Rams, which is a terrible idea on my part, picking the Rams. But, yeah, the Bills have been a solid team for like 5 years, and I feel like they could win a Super Bowl. They're not far off. They are not much worse than the Chiefs. They really, and I think rebuilding the O-line, it would take them a season at the max. They just gotta get a few guys that can protect Josh Allen better than what they have right now. And it's not even that their O-line's bad right now. It's fine, but it can be improved. That's the thing. Their quarterback's great. You know, and they have a great head coach, which are the two main ingredients to a Super Bowl team. You know, great quarterback, great coach. They have it. They have a great defense. They have Stephon Diggs. They can win if they just get an O-line. All right, so as I was talking about earlier, about how great Jokic was, he's averaging a triple-double in the playoffs, by the way. Which is just kind of what he does, so, I mean, I guess there's not much to talk about there, because he does it all the time. But, it's kind of crazy. He's 12th in jersey sales. He's behind LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball's jersey gets sold more than a 2-time MVP. What a world. And I get that Jokic isn't flashy or stuff, but I mean, come on, man. He's a 2-time MVP. Probably should have won a third. But no, LaMelo Ball gets more recognition than him. You know, I just don't understand. And I think Jokic is a great choice for MVP. You know, I've expressed that I don't really like how they choose it. I think it's become more about who scores the most than who really is the most valuable. But I think Jokic is a great example of a most valuable player. You know, and I think the fact that he, you know, anytime a player makes a team change their game plan, like whenever a team's game plan is to straight up just stop one guy, you know they're a great player. I think that was the Heat's initial plan to, you know, lock up Jokic. And I think now they realize, I think this is going to be a decent series now. Because now the Heat have Murray shut down. And now Jokic, they're very Jokic reliant. It's not exactly the best place to be. Especially for a team in the finals. You don't want to be reliant on one player. Just ask the Cavs 2018. LeBron averaged a triple-double in the finals, and they lost. They got swept. They didn't just lose, they got swept. So, I think it's going to be an interesting series. I'm probably going to take Denver in 6. But yeah. So I think the Bills, as I said before, I'm going to go back to what I was saying earlier because I thought of something else. I don't think there's been a team in the last 10 years that has had a battle O-line that won the Super Bowl. You know? Like, if you think about the last 10 Super Bowl champions, has there ever... Have either of them had a battle line? I would argue in 2019 when the Patriots won it, they won because of a great O-line. They just completely shut down the Rams' defense. 2020, the Chiefs, pretty good O-line. Buccaneers, best O-line in the league. Rams, top-tier O-line. Chiefs last year, great O-line. You know, all right, who else won? 2018 Eagles, great O-line. 2017 Pats, great O-line. What else was there? 2016 Broncos, solid O-line. Then you had the Pats again. Seahawks. I mean, they were mostly defense, but their O-line held up pretty well. I mean, the last, 10 Super Bowl champions have all had great, solid O-lines. The Bills are a solid team, but I don't think they'll ever be at that level without a solid O-line. Alright, so apparently the Lakers are uninterested in Kyrie, and honestly, I would be too if I were them. Honestly, the path they went on this year was honestly kind of impressive because they started off really bad. They were towards the bottom of the Western Conference. Then they made it to the second round of the playoffs. And even though I know they didn't win, but I think from where they came from and where they started this year, that was pretty impressive that they made it that far. You know, and honestly, I'm not really into this story because, honestly, LeBron to Dallas doesn't feel like a good fit, and neither does Kyrie to the Lakers. And honestly, I'm not even sure if they're a great duo anymore. They were a good duo 6 to 7 years ago. But a lot has changed since, especially Kyrie. He's much more controversial, a lot less about basketball. You know, and even LeBron has made a few minor changes to his game. So I think... I'm not sure they're really I'm not sure if they're worth the gamble, worth the risk. You know, and they already have their duo. They have AD and LeBron. And I know people like to say, and I say this too, AD is not really reliable or available. And you're right. But neither is Kyrie. I would argue he might be less reliable and less available than AD is. So, I think it's a good idea that they are uninterested. Alright, so back to the Bills thing, because I'm really interested in that. So, Brandon Beane, he said, we always believe in trying to be strong up front, and that's not a bad thing. But I feel like they're wasting money trying to improve their defense, which is already great, when they could be spending it on their O-line, which could use some work, you know? I'm not going to ramble on that much more, but that's my belief there. Alright, so Brandon Staley said, Chargers are in contact talks with Justin Herbert, and they're kind of ongoing. Honestly, I'm really surprised they have not made the playoffs yet. I keep saying they'll make it there. Just not doing it. But I think this is the last time I'm going to say they'll make the playoffs this year. If they don't, I'm just going to... Unless something drastic changes, I'm not gonna get behind them much more. All right, but I think they have great potential if they get everything right. I really do. I think maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, they could make the AFC Championship. I think Herbert's a great quarterback and highly promising. All right. So Brady praised the offensive coordinator of the Patriots, Bill O'Brien, saying there's very few good coaches in the NFL, but Bill is one of them. That's sweet. Okay. I mean, I think he might be a solid coordinator. He failed miserably as a head coach, but I don't know. We'll see how he does. The Pats have been remarkably average the last few years without Brady, so we'll just see how that goes for them. All right. So that concludes the show today. Again, don't really have any promises, but I'm going to try my best. I'm going to keep trying to do podcasts, whenever I can. So, Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. Still no idea what I'm doing. Have a good one.